Welcome back to Drive for Justice. This week's episode, we see Rafe Mair's pro-gay rhetoric go into overdrive. In 1997, two very significant things occurred almost simultaneously. Rafe Mair declared that there is no gay agenda, and the NDP adopted the gay agenda as its policy. In February of 1997, the NDP convention had adopted a policy that declared, quote, the necessary curricular changes to promote the education of issues surrounding lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered youth, unquote. Interestingly, a month later, Rafe devoted a whole program to the issue of homosexuality in education, and Kari took that opportunity to make her position abundantly clear to him. Teach whatever you want in the public education system, but inform parents first, as the Ministry of Education policy requires, and don't lie to the kids. Tell them the whole truth. Now, a year earlier, a newspaper ad by NDP candidate Tim Stevenson had claimed that the NDP government had already made the proposed curriculum changes. At the same time, amazingly, the then Premier, Glenn Clark, was promising what candidate Stevenson claimed was already accomplished. Why was the NDP government confused about its own pro-gay agenda? Was it because they were going to go ahead regardless of what the electorate or the legislature said? Well, listen to this tape from a few months later.
If you think that homosexuals today are the same as homosexuals when you were a kid, you're completely out in left field there.
Well, they are exactly the same as
No,
homosexuals.
they're not. Their agenda is not the same. Their whole...
What agenda? Who's got this agenda? Where does that come from?
Rafe said, what agenda? Where is this agenda? Well, of course, there is an agenda, and it's well known. Dr. Judith Reisman, in her book Crafting Gay Children, reports that Harvard homosexual Dr. Toby Murata stated that in the 1970s, members of the Gay Activists Alliance were trained in zapping anyone who rejected homosexuality. They formed what they called the Gay Academic Union, GAU, of faculty and students in major universities. Dr. Reisman says the GAU fights to give its worldview dominance in the academic community, and professional journals often assigned GAU and other homosexuals to do so-called research on homosexual issues. The agenda was outlined in great detail in the 1989 book After the Ball, How America Will Conquer Its Fear and Hatred of Gays in the 90s, by Marshall Kirk and Hunter Madsen, two gay activists educated in marketing at Harvard, with a 6-point plan for transforming the beliefs of ordinary Americans and Canadians about homosexual behavior in a decade. Therefore, when Rafe Mair questioned whether there is a gay agenda, he was either ignorant or lying. The 6 points, which we've all seen ad nauseum in the past quarter century, include: talk about gays and gayness as loudly and as often as possible. That is, normalize the idea. 2, portray gays as victims, not as aggressive challengers. 3, give homosexuals defenders a just cause. 4, make gays look good. 5, make victimizers look bad. And 6, get funds from corporations. The list of gay victories in this area are impressive. Apple, Microsoft, Ford, General Motors, General Electric, Home Depot, and in Canada, TELUS, CBC, CTV, Global TV, Royal Bank, CIBC, major credit unions, and many, many others. And Rafe certainly knew about that because Kari had told him in detail during their March 27 broadcast, and she had also sent him more than 30 pages of detailed information. Yet even after all that, Rafe questioned whether such a thing as a gay agenda actually exists. So what had really happened? Was Rafe bamboozled by homosexual activists like Tim Stevenson? Why wouldn't an experienced journalist leap at a chance to grill a politician about such questions? Did pressure from major advertisers on the WIC Chorus radio network motivate his sudden blindness? Or was Rafe merely trying to cover up his own ignorance? And why was Rafe later caught raising funds for Murray Warren, one half of the gay Corrin couple, that would eventually persuade the Minister of Education and the Attorney General to sign an illegal contract, one that had never been seen by the legislature, called the Corrin Settlement Agreement? Well, let me read you a memo that Kari wrote to Rod Gunn, the general manager of CKNW. Dear Mr. Gunn, as per our discussion, I am forwarding to you some info surrounding the war. I pulled the story out of BC Report that details the past combined efforts of CKNW and the Citizens Research Institute. I cannot account for you the exact number of shows Rafe and I have done over the past 10 years, but it would be a considerable amount. The topics would be varied and include the Charlottetown Accord, child apprehensions, education, the CARE program in the schools, the Infants Act, gun control, state-run daycare, unwarranted state intrusion into the family, child protection laws, democracy, provincial elections, the list goes on. I have included my espousing of current subject matter, the political misuse of public education, and the attempt to redefine the family. The news items included reflect some of the opinions on the matter, but not all. It is a war. There is additional information that will provide you with further insight. For your own information, the last show Rafe and I did was on the topic of homosexuality in the classroom. It was a difficult day for Rafe. The problems between Rafe and Patty had escalated to the point of no return. The response to the show was overwhelming. My office received over 144 calls. Rafe's comments over the next few days were inflammatory and hysterical. I would invite you to obtain a copy of the show. With any other issue, I would be a great sport, but with this particular issue, sensibilities must prevail as the socialist homosexual agenda is militant, violent, and politically driven. This issue is not about the warm fuzzies of tolerance, but the forwarding of a political agenda designed to change the identity of this nation. The issues involving homosexuality are simply agents for change. I have included dialogue obtained via the net from the international socialists to provide an example of this point. As I would hope and rightly expect, Rafe dedicated an unsubstantiated tirade guised as an editorial to this issue. Amused by his ignorance, I wrote and requested the opportunity to square off with him. He refused. It seems that the politics of men and homosexual sex may only be discussed on Rafe's shows if it is couched in the convenient cocoon of political correctness. It is taboo to present truth and facts. How nice. I then received a call Kari, would you be willing to debate Tim Stevenson on Rafe's show? I would love to debate Mr. Stevenson, was my response. I was then advised that Mr. Stevenson was afraid to debate me, with certain references to the KKK being the rationale. Rafe, uncharacteristically, made no reference to his refusal to debate when Stevenson was permitted, unchallenged, to spin his political propaganda on Rafe's show. Rally 97 was organized by concerned citizens. The violent confrontation designed to prohibit free speech was organized by the International Socialists in cahoots with the BCTF and GALE, Gay and Lesbian Educators of BC. It was the lead story for Newsworld, BCTV, UTV, Canada AM, etc. I contacted Shirley Stalker and advised her of the events on the weekend. I have met Shirley on several occasions, and during the course of the series that Rafe and I did on child protection, I came to appreciate her savvy and instincts on what makes good media. I asked her to inquire if either Bill Good or Rafe Mair wanted to do the show. The response, not interested. This was unbelievable, the hottest story, blacked out by NW. Fortunately, several other stations moved and the story did get out. For your information, the Citizens Research Institute is a national organization. We have an office in Saskatchewan, which does a brilliant job of keeping the government in line there. Our BC office will be moving in July to a larger facility in the Guildford area to accommodate our 5-year action plan. Our budget for this year is $225,000. A new division within the Citizens Research Institute has been created to facilitate the Family Resource and Advocacy Series. We assist over 400 families a year dealing with unwarranted apprehensions and government agencies, family breakdown, general challenges in dealing with government and government agencies. The Citizens Research Institute also facilitates a smaller grassroots groups by providing them with office space and use of equipment. We have an extensive library and provide information and background to numerous media outlets, community organizations, and service clubs. Thank you for taking the time to discuss this matter. Well, next week, we'll list the individuals and the media corporations that attacked Kari right in line with the Kirk and Madsen agenda that Rafe Mair angrily insisted did not exist. And then we'll show you how those confrontations ended.